Good morning in there, out there. From in here, out here. Uh-huh. Well, the snow's melting. I guess some people, it's the slush season. To be merry. Welcome to Sentimentalist. Mark. Ben, hope you're doing better. Mariana. Caring about you. Let's see what we've written in the little black book. Well, we certainly had a long Christmas in a way, didn't we? Everything around here was canceled. Christmas Eve service, Christmas. How about you guys? Julie and I were here. And the animals. We have lots of presents still unwrapped. Waiting for Meredith to make it here so she can open a few. Boy, that was such a blizzard. And then now, Vivi, what could I forget? Vivi's nose, huh? And my buddy. That's my buddy. And we had our walk this morning in the slush, didn't we? Huh? We weren't so sure about the slush. She's so patient and tolerant. Yeah. Well, I'm so fascinated by this book, Inciting Joy by Ross Gay, because he puts it in the context of anything that's things that are not joy. So that's why it's called inciting joy. Last chapter was about grief, and boy, that's really hit here. And you hate to say it hits here when it's somebody else, but yeah. And he talks just about all these incredible, joyful things that happen, that have happened in his life. It's so interesting because he's against race, and that is something that I've never believed in, race. It's just wonderful all the different people there are. All the different ways of being and all the different cultures. And I read this chapter on gratitude. And he talks about, it's the last chapter, joy and gratitude. And what is it here? It is, guess that I have already blathered on enough about gratitude. Truth be told, in my book, by which I mean in my opinion, I love his style, there is no blathering on enough about gratitude. The real thing, I mean, there is no enough to gratitude. There is no enough to gratitude. And then he makes this marvelous list, which I think I told you last week. Randy Smith, who could move only as one finger, taught me about gratitude, because I've gone through the rest of my days now for 15 years or so from Randy, knowing Randy could never do this. He never experienced it in his entire life. And he never did this. He never experienced this in his entire life. Not once. Now this is gratitude. This old pumpkin here. Julie over there spinning. He could never do that. Am I grateful for Julie spinning? Oh, boy, am I. So then, what did you have to eat for breakfast? We had such fun asking people. Some people had some Chinese, and some people had fried eggs and scrambled eggs. And It was not the Christmas season. Although I did have this great thing. The Sentimentalist got blasted the other day by a church magazine. It just got ripped to shreds, saying that the Christian church has become too sentimental. And then there's this big complaint about manger scenes being in the same yard as Santa Claus and Rudolph. And do you know Rudolph saved it all? These are all wonderful metaphors. Jesus would just love it. He would just love it. There couldn't be enough Santa Clauses. The church is too sentimental. Yeah. Right. That's why when I was a kid, they told me, the church told me, I wasn't any good and I shouldn't be who I am. It took me about 60 years to become who I am. And no thanks to the church. So I'm at the UCC church, which is open and affirming. So they could probably let Rudolph in the front door and find a pew. Yeah, we don't want any joy. Nope. Can't have that. Can't have that. Can't have that. I also wonder why this church is... How'd they get a handhold on memorial services? I was thinking about that when I was doing stand-up comedy in the church for Randy Smith and his wife Jill, who thanked me for doing it. But I wonder how they got a hold on that. I don't know. Rachel Pritchen's marvelous book, A Light, is out. Oh, it's beautiful, as is she, as is her voice, as is... Look for it, A Light. And an old ball player classmate of mine, a few weeks ago, he said, "What did your comics did your grandmother read to you?" And I said, I forget what I said, but guess what I got? The complete set of DVDs of Hopalong Cassidy with his partners California and Lucky, remember? And two huge coffee table books like this. One of Donald Duck and one of Superman. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. It enabled me to leap lots of buildings in a single bound. I was so happy. What a gift. Look what Julie got me for my pipe. I put the back on it. Look at this beautiful lighter. Yeah. For my pipe. I should put it in and smoke it away. Let's see what else we had. Oh, Julie's dear sister Carrie. She's a nurse, psychiatric nurse. What did she do for Christmas? Worked. Slept in the hospital. Worked the next day. Like I said last week for Meredith, thank you for being a teacher. Thank you for being a nurse. I don't think I heard a slurp, did you? Oh, don't think of going back to work. Don't say back to work. Well, I got one, You get to be this age, you start to fill your days with, look how beautiful this is. That snow's melting, but it's, my phone's ringing. I just can't see enough. Can't see enough. Yep. Anyway, I really had to laugh at getting blasted by the church for being sentimental. They need to look that up. And then they quoted some famous theologian guy saying that the church will be ruined by sentimentality, and we just don't want those children singing off key. Tear down those decorations. It's all, why I said that, symbols of different things. I've got to read to you. You know, speaking of, here's that, and then there's Jim Harrison. Do you remember Jim Harrison, the great novelist and great poet? Great, I don't know, that's the word. Meaningful novels that mattered, poems that mattered. Rough and tough, wrote about food. Rough and tough and just snarly, and what a character. I mean, he was just so loving, and then he'd bite your head off. Well, here's what he had to say about sentimental. Life is sentimental. Why should I be cold and hard about it? Take that when I put this up against that article I read. Why should I be cold and hard about it? That's the main content. The biggest thing in people's lives is their loves and dreams and visions, you know? Did you hear that gunshot? Really? Well, sentimental, gratitude. He talks about, also he talks about grief. Whole huge chapter, biggest chapters on grief and the joy within grief. And he says it's not grief and trying to get over, you don't get over grief, everything changes. And once you live into the change, that's the opposite of grief, where it's changed. Nothing's the same. Nothing's the same. What you do in New Year's? My mom and dad would go out, and my grandma and I would grab pans and bang them at outside at midnight. I have a couple other New Year's stories next year or next week. We'll have to. This is a poem called "Putting Away the Santas." Yep. He had found one for her every summer. Some in Christmas stores that keep things in a desperate sparkle all year long. Some in antique shops, some at garage sales. He set them along the windowsills here in the house they bought and thought would be the first in a line leading to the perfect home. Now they can't leave the creek that bends its way through the woods out back. The morning light slides through the jagged space between these handmade bedraggles in divinity. Their beards flow or scraggle down across their chests, unfurling from their rust-red cheeks. Unfurling. Some raise their arms in unabashed glee. Others are weary, their eyes soft, their hands barely holding on to a bear or wreath. A few are tiny, a few are tall. One is straight as the back of a Swedish chair. The couple are full of gnarled Appalachian cuts and curves. One plays the accordion. One holds back 7 dogs. Some look as if their sacks are full of sorrow. Their daughter made one from a toilet paper roll. He puts them out the day after Thanksgiving, welcomes each one back, asks how their sleep among the ornaments has gone, even thanks them for lasting one more year. Now he wraps them one by one in a paper towel, lays each back in its box. Come mid-July, he will start the search again, hoping he can find another jolly lugger of unaccustomed joy. Take care. Try to be cheerful. So good to know more and more people telling me they're with us on Thursday, because now it just feels like we're all here with Vivi.